That's as much of a Stanley's voice as I'm ever going to do, because I'm never going to be able to beat Brian from Hat Hole Home Video anyway, so why bother? Yeah, my second stream for today, we're going to go back to doing the more cheerful art stream. My earlier stream was of a video game that is dark and disturbing and clearly aimed at being a horror game. So those will not be going up on the YouTube channel that the art streams go up on, I promise. No, instead, because that is not something I would ever advise a child to watch. It is quite something. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it a lot, but it is definitely not made for younger viewers. This, however, will be more acceptable, I think, for kids. Even though we will be drawing a skull, I think I'm going to do the skull image. That's still not really scary. It's not a gory skull. I may at some point, I may reconfigure this particular image to be more of a horror-based image. But we're going to keep it very clean for now. We're just going to keep going with what I'll call the clean version of it. But I mean, I really had no more scorn of that game to stream today anyway. So I was always planning to do an art stream. It just happened that this game was very interesting, and I decided I wanted to finish it, which didn't take very long because turned out I didn't have much more to do. So let me get a drink very quick. Oh man! Again, a salty breakfast. Therefore, water. Cold water, extra delicious today. So let's see. Yeah, then we're going to keep going with the rings on the skull. So let's go ahead. Oh, I forgot. There's that transition thing. I really should have done that. I should have done that first. I don't think I can do it while the stream is running. I'm just going to use one of the built-in transitions instead of worrying about doing... Well, I mean, I still will probably do my little animated thing, but let's do this because I actually really like some of the built-in transition things for this. Oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah. I forgot. You know what? Whatever. You guys can watch this. This is not as exciting as it might seem at first. So I'll clue you in. It would be, let's see, where's the opening art 2? That's it right there. Select and save. And now if we go, there we go. At least I did it. You got to watch that live. How exciting. Okay. All right. And then we'll switch over to, come on, should end pretty quick. Really? Okay, there we go. All right, so here's our skull. I don't know if this is more beneficial to look at it this way. Is this better? Is that better? I guess you see more of it, so that probably is better. So I'll just rotate it. Okay, so last time we basically did these ridges here. And we're going to do that same thing in all of the dark gray areas. And then I'm going to determine whether I'm even going to put anything in that white space. I kind of think once all these ridges are in, that the white space is going to look good by itself. So I may not even end up doing anything with that. So let's jump. Boy, do we want to do the giant one? Do we want to take on this monster now? Well, you know, I'm going to have to do it eventually. So let's jump into it here, and we'll just see how we go. Okay. So let me set this. Let me turn the keyboard off so I don't accidentally do what I did last time. There we are. Let's set this down. Of course, you can't see this, so I'm really just describing what I'm doing more than actually doing anything you'll see. And here we go. So let's just start. And we'll do the same thing we did last time as far as this goes, where we will just make broken lines and then rejoin them at the end. This is going to take a while. Hold on, sorry, there's a speck on the screen. There we go. It's going to throw me off because I'm going to keep thinking it was an accident. So, this is not as busy a podcast day as yesterday was. This is a very unusually busy week for me, show-wise. Normally, the only shows I do in a week, usually the top amount of shows I do in a week is 2. Usually I do our show. I don't count the daily shows because there's nobody else involved, so that's really just kind of what I'm doing. But in terms of shows that involve other people, better way to put it, it's usually maxes out at 2. I mean, there's our weekly show, which we do, the Friday show. So that one's pretty much every week. And then the ones that I've been doing with Len Kabazinski have been pretty much every other week, and that's generally been the high rate of output. Once in a while, like a few weeks ago, would have been the first week of September. No, I think the first week of September. No, it would have been the second week of September. I did a special where I had Meg Halfdahl and Kelly Florence on to talk about their book that was releasing. So we did basically a book release day show because I like their books, and I'm always happy to bring them on so they can promote them. And that book is called The Science of Witchcraft. And their books are basically the Science of series where they explore the true roots behind a lot of pop culture stuff. Horror movies, Stephen King, women in horror. What's the other one I'm missing? Monsters. That might be all of them. Or I may be missing one other one. I have a hunch I'm missing one other one. In any event, you can go look them up on Amazon. Their books are there. So look for The Science of Stephen King, and then you'll be able to look for them from there. That's the easiest one that I don't think anybody else has something quite titled like that. I'm pretty sure there's other books that discuss the science of witchcraft, even if the title isn't the same. So I want to make sure you get to the right people. In any event, that's a rarity. The late nights are one-offs. I do those when it works out. And, those have no set schedule. So every so often, there might be one of those the same week as a Len show. So sometimes, once in a while, I might do 3 shows in a week. And I don't care. I count show as doesn't matter how many episodes, right? So that's generally, the most that I'll do. This week, however, potentially, there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows, including the Friday show. I mean, without a doubt, there's going to be 3. Yes, there were 3 shows, no matter what, which is already kind of the top end of most of my weeks. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. 1, 2, no, I'm sorry, 4 guaranteed, because I don't like that line. I'll fix this. Let's fix that. And this is too strong, so I'm gonna fix that too. Because I did a set of late nights, and those are releasing a little unusually for how I normally do things. Because normally I like to release the late nights on the first 2 Mondays of a month. But because I knew that there was a high likelihood that there was going to be a lot of these shows, and I don't like to sit on shows for too long. Some people will record something and they won't release it for a long time, and that's fine for other shows. But in particular, the one with Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile, we were talking about the newest Star Trek series, Strange New Worlds. And honestly, that show's finale aired quite a while ago, and I really just wanted it to get out there because we're both very enthusiastic fans of that show, and I didn't want to wait. So I basically released the first part, came out, today's Friday, yesterday at noon, so you can actually go listen to that right now. And then the Star Trek, because I have a late night that's gonna be the first Monday of October, so I didn't want to crowd the first week of October. And again, I just didn't want to wait because I know Michael Fisher has a lot of fans, including myself, and I wanted to get the show out. So I was like, well, whatever. I'm just going to put it out on Thursday, and that's what I did. So that show is out. And then yesterday, Thursday, I did a early show, a live show on the Twit Network. Basically, Aunt Pruitt, who's the host of Hands-On Photography. I'm now realizing that line. Let me look at something. I don't know if that's going to bother me. You know what? I'm not going to let it bother me. That the spacing is a little off on that. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just do this. Okay, here we go. To make sure. Okay. I'm just going to redo the line. Sorry. So I did the early morning show. It was at 9 a.m. over on twit.tv, and that's basically, not unfortunately, but that one is a paid subscriber show because I'm a Club Twit, not Twit Plus, Club Twit member. And so what Ant does is he brings on, no, I don't like that line. Actually, you know what? I don't mind that line. That line's okay. I'm making myself not like it. Sorry. And so he brings on members of the Club Twit community. Just kind of come up and chat for about an hour. So we did that. Whereas I typically do, I think I came off as a maniac. Because I don't know. I just do sometimes because it was a video show. So it had video. And man, on video, I always feel the need to kind of be a little bit. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm not really that much different than usual. It's just that you can see the mania as opposed to simply hearing it. I was going to say I feel the need to be a little bit bigger in personality than usual, but that's not really true. I don't really think that's true. I don't think I was any real different than I am on our normal show. I think it's just a difference of seeing myself on video that is admittedly weird for me, because I don't really do video typically. That's probably only the second show where I've been actually on video, because I just don't think I serve the format very well. You know, I'm not some kind of. I'm not giving Rob Lowe a run from his money or anything like that. I'm not the prettiest, not the belle of any ball. Let's put it that way. Damn it. Sorry, I didn't mean to say. Damn it, in front of the kids. Pardon me, kids, if you're watching. That was an accident. I slipped because it just erased my line. You know, so I don't really know what, you know. I never look at video as a format that really suits me. Video where I'm being shown. Video like this makes sense because I'm drawing. This makes sense. This I understand, or not understand. It's very easy for me to make the beneficial connection with this because you're seeing what I'm drawing. But Twit is a primarily video. At least they always have that video feed, so I couldn't not do it. And I really wanted to do the show because I've had Ant on my late night show. I think he's a great guy. And I actually am a very enthusiastic fan of Twit. I think it's really for me, was the model of where podcasting started as far as my enthusiasm for why I did the show. That really is directly traced. No, traced isn't. For some reason, when I said the word traced, it sounded wrong when I said it, even though it's absolutely what I was trying to say. Can be traced directly to Twit. It was the person who founded Twit, Leo Laporte, when he started doing podcasts, he was an adamant, promoter of it as something that anybody could do. And that's why I started doing the shows in general. And without that show, there wouldn't be the other shows, there wouldn't be this. None of this stuff would be there if I hadn't done the initial podcast, I don't think. I don't think I would do any of this stuff if I hadn't started doing the show initially, the regular show. So, back when Twit initially had a thing where you could buy a brick, they had a studio called the Brick House, and you could purchase a brick for that, which I did. I did that one in my father's memory, because that was, I think I bought that brick. I don't even know if my dad had been dead a year when I got that one. So I got it and I kind of dedicated it to him. That's why I was always a little bit unhappy, as many others were, that there wasn't more of an attempt to return those bricks to the backers. And I know there were financial reasons, it was going to be expensive, but that is something that I really still, even now I really think that effort should have been made. But it wasn't, and that's fine. Oops, that line. I got to make sure my spacing is right now, because I've adopted the bigger spacing for this. I can't now tighten the lines up. You know what I mean? But that was just one annoyance. But I've always felt like Twit has cultivated really good personalities for how diverse the shows are and how many different people are on that network. It's a very impressive group of hosts and contributors and everything else. And so, and if you're not in the United States, I don't know if there's something similar to this anywhere else, because I know there's, Britain has the BBC where everybody pays a television license, and that's where that content comes from. Well, we don't have something like that in the United States. Instead, there's everything is either privately owned or there is what typically is referred to as NPR, but there's other names for it. There's some other acronyms for it, I should say. But basically, it's public radio. It's radio that is, I believe, publicly and privately subsidized in different ways. I think most of the support it gets is from the government. I think there is a government subsidy for. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert. I don't know everything about it, but my understanding, or what I believe to be true, and people can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that NPR, the majority of that funding actually comes from government subsidies. So part of the taxes that are collected every year from the American public, a small portion of that, small being a relative term depending on whether you support public radio or not. I tend to, so I say small compared to some other things that we spend money on in this country, which I'm not going to get into because I don't want to make this into a political stream. But I think that there are things that we spend money on that are very beneficial and positive, and there's other things that I think maybe we should at some point reevaluate. But regardless, again, you would chart your own course on that. I think public radio, and perhaps that will give you a clue as to what things I think are beneficial and not. Obviously, I'm a supporter of the arts. I find NPR and public arts are very important, so I'll just leave it at that. I've said I've leave it at that like 4 times, but I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear on what I'm saying. So, NPR does this thing where every year they do, well, every year, they seem to do it quarterly now, they do fund drive. And when I say fund drive, I mean fund drive, because it's very confusing. I don't know why they don't use a different term for that. They should basically say a donation drive. It would be, number one, it's the same amount of accuracy, and it would be easier to understand, because when people hear fund drive, they think, and I just did it now, where I said fund drive, not fund drive, because nobody pronounces it that way. It's not like you hear them say, we're in the middle of our fund drive. They say, we're in the middle of this year's fund drive. And they're just rolling those D's together. It's not a good phrase. Not a beneficial phrase for human ears, let's put it like that. Or English ears, I should say. So that's where basically they, in between shows, they constantly are saying, oh, we need your support, and one of the things they say is if you're somebody who listens every day, then you should support this station. And you know what? They're right. And for a long time, I was like a lot of people. Didn't pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. You can just tune into it. But I would basically just freeload on it. And you know what? There is also a very, one of the things I believe in is that there are people who don't have the money to give to it. And so other people who can, are in a position to be able to do it, should. And at this moment in time, I am in a position to do it. So I donate to it. And it's really, I applied the same model to Twit, where I said, okay, I listen to these shows every day almost. I mean, certainly every week. Sorry, hold on a minute. I just got and the thing dropped. That's interesting timing. Let me get this back. Somebody just texted me. Just want to make sure I always like to check and make sure there's no emergencies. No, this is some stupid political thing. Somehow my phone number is, whoops, wrong thing. I connected to the wrong device. Somehow my phone number, they think I live in at least 3 different states. I'm apparently Madeline in one state, Daniel in another, and I can't remember the third name. But I'm in multiple states. So there's that. And so, whoops, I just bounced it. Oh, that's right, the keyboard's off. So we're fine. Let me just click the mouse here so I can see my view again. There we are. What was I talking about? Oh, so since I listen to Twit quite a bit, I thought, okay, you know what? Because, and the roots of it were that advertising on the network took a hit, as advertising did kind of all over the place because of the pandemic. So in the pandemic, a lot of advertising budgets have been cut, if not eliminated entirely. And so basically the Twit network. Now, if you're asking me what I actually think, my suspicion is this was something they were going to launch all along, but my hunch is that it got expedited by the fact that the pandemic hit. That probably drove that timetable way up. Because a lot of places are doing Patreons or direct deposits or sponsorships or Unfortunately, we're in a subscription society, which I think is very bad, and I think there's going to be a point that that model can't keep going. It just cannot. people are already, I mean, I've heard a lot of people that I know who basically are like, I'm not subscribing to anything else. If I subscribe to something else, it means I'm dropping something for it. I'm not going to just keep subscribing to 100 different things, because not only because of the expense, but just because it's very tough to keep track of. So that's what I mean about, I have a feeling that the Club Twit idea was probably already in progress. It was already being considered. And so I thought, you know what, I should support this thing. I should. And so I'm part of that Club Twit thing. And that's where, God, this really started as me talking about how I did that show. I can't believe that's where this came from. Sorry. But that's why it's a subscriber-only thing, is because, and that's why I was on it. So if you're not a Club Twit subscriber, I don't know if that will ever be put into a public archive, but I'm guessing not. So that unfortunately is something that most people probably will not see me on, but that's okay. It's not as if there aren't enough ways to hear me if you so desire, and I really can't imagine why people would want to hear more of me anyway. But that stuff is out there. So I did that show. Then I did another late night yesterday afternoon, at which point, after I had done a stream, so at that point I was kind of amazed that my voice was intact at all. And it's not as if I have a tremendous speaking voice anyway. I can affect gravitas and a more eloquent speaking voice. But I don't often do it, and I probably would destroy my throat if I tried to keep doing this for much longer. So I just talk like myself, but I do tend to get very animated and loud. So I really thought that by the time I did the afternoon show, I was really concerned that my voice was going to be shot, but it held. Now, by that evening, you could, I mean, when my wife at one point called me on her way home, she said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No, my voice is just blown. It's just that my voice is shot because I've been talking a lot." Which, hey, I can talk a lot. I was basically born and bred to not shut up. But that is a lot of talking in one day, because I would estimate that I was... the morning show was about 90 minutes. The afternoon show was a little over an hour, and then the stream was about an hour. So that's about, top to bottom, about 4 hours worth of talking. It's a lot. Even for me, that's a lot. So, and then I'm probably doing, I might be doing 2 shows. I'm doing at least 1 show this weekend, if not 2. And that will be the Len Kawasinski show. So this has been a busy, for me anyway, this has been a busy content creation week. Typically, I'm not doing that much stuff. And the streams, this is now my 2nd stream for today. So, just a lot of stuff, which is not bad. I'm not complaining, really. It's just unusual. So, yeah, I really wasn't planning to do... I wasn't even going to do the video game stream, but I thought, because the reason I was able to stream it is because I backed that game on Kickstarter. So only PC players who backed this game on Kickstarter got this particular little prologue chapter to play. So I thought, okay, well then that means that there's probably not going to be a ton of people who actually will have content on this game. So I'd like to get it out. And plus I really like the game. I really like the game. So I thought, let's, why not? Go ahead and just stream it, and then people can tune in, and I'll put it on the YouTube channel. And I'll probably have that one come out a little bit ahead of... Actually, I have to see. I don't even know what our current release schedule is for games, because I think the video game releases are still on the Sniper Elite 5 games. And then after that will come the Saints Row stuff. Because, as I've said multiple times now, despite the fact that game has gotten very savage critical reception, I happen to like it a lot. It's very good to play with somebody else. I can't speak to how to be able to play. I haven't played much of it on my own. I did play a little bit. I didn't think it was egregiously bad. I haven't hit some of the bugs that other people have. That's probably helped it. I know that there are people who've run into some really bad technical glitches with it, but I had not. So I can't really complain about that side of it. I think it's been fun. But this game, too, this game is the game that I streamed earlier, the Scorn game. It's, because somebody had mentioned on that stream, they said, oh, this is a, I don't remember, somebody somewhere said it's a niche game. And I don't disagree. It is going to be, it's not going to be for everybody, because it's a very It's a very stylized and unique take on what it's trying to do. It's really mixing together, for all intents and purposes, three genres, but none of them in a pure sense. So people who like those genres may not be especially fond of the fact that it doesn't fully embrace any one of them. I don't care. I think it's such a beautiful game and such a unique game in the modern landscape that I really don't care. But I will not be shocked if the sales are not blowing through the roof. But I hope it does. I hope the people who want games like this enjoy it. And I think they will. So that's okay. So yeah, I did that. I did a stream of that probably about 3 hours ago or so. And I unfortunately did not realize that the sound levels were way off. And what that has told me is if I do more gameplay videos again, I'm going to record I think I'm going to record a separate voice track outside of the game so that if I get the sound balance wrong again, I can basically just, you know, be able to put my voice in there but higher up. Or I'll just check the levels beforehand, which I really should have done, but I was relying on the meters, and the meters were not, I think, an accurate reflection of the actual sound floor that was happening. It's not sound floor, sound levels. That's okay. Honestly, the more important thing besides hearing me was to see the game anyway, so I'm not really all that upset that people didn't hear my commentary, because all I was basically saying is, look how beautiful this game is. So you could already see that in the video. Therefore, me saying that really wasn't adding much. But nonetheless, I get the irritation of trying to hear somebody and not being able to hear them. So I will work on making that. I'm making sure that leveling is better in the future. So yeah, but I wanted to do an art stream too. I didn't want to just do the video game stream because again, that's not going to go on the same channel this is on, because it really is not safe work. Even though I never utter a single swear, I actually swore more in this video earlier when I made that mistake than I do in that entire other video. But the actual content of the game and its themes are absolutely not family friendly. So rather than take any chances with that, which I wouldn't anyway. I mean, I wouldn't want to bait and switch anybody and get them to see something that's really not appropriate for them anyway. That's fine. But I did want to do a more universal stream and do a little bit more work here. So I'm not going to probably do too long of a stream because my voice is a little bit, I can feel it's a little off. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not that I can't talk. But I have been pushing it a lot, and I still have to record at least one more show this week, and I'm going to need my voice for it. So I don't want to push too hard on the off chance that somehow my voice would actually just go away. I think I've only had that happen in my entire life once. I think once I lost, and I don't know that I didn't entirely lose it, but my voice, I do remember at one point, I don't think I was sick or anything. I think it may be because maybe we went to a baseball game and I was doing a lot of yelling, and I remember my voice became extremely hoarse to the point where, again, it wasn't gone. You could actually hear me, but I certainly didn't sound good. And I don't think I ever sound particularly good, but I sounded bad. It was probably more difficult than usual to listen to me talk, which at the base level I don't think is exactly the easiest thing in the world for most people to do. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to take a risk on that happening again for doing our normal show, because I saw it. And you know what? I think I have to sneeze. I'm going to mute this real quick. I think I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Woo! Caught it. Okay. What was I about to say? Oh, because when I don't exactly go crazy on the normal show, and I don't, but as far as production or anything like that, doing a whole bunch of things to it. But at the baseline, I don't want to sound terrible. We don't eat on the mic. anymore. Orlando did that once, and I was like, don't do that again. So we do the bare minimum stuff because I think that is kind of just part of our natural way of doing things, is not to overproduce things. You will find that there are many people who do shows that are doing lots of production things, and that's fine. That's part of what they want their show to be. For me, that's not exactly the biggest deal in the world. I mean, again, I don't want it to sound like, I don't want the noise to be something like you got dropped in the middle of a construction site as somebody eats popcorn in your ear. I'm not trying to make it sonically hostile towards the ears. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and worry too much about levels and peaking and all that stuff. Outside of making sure that, because the only real adjustment I ever have to make to the show, honestly, most times, once in a while, there might be a little, because of the way we're recording, there might be a little technical thing where once in probably, I'll say, every 8 shows, for some reason my mic tends to generate this very loud, sharp sound. It's very easy to see it. I mean, you can see it in the waveform immediately. A very, very harsh, and when you listen to it, it's not pleasant. And I can't identify any reason for it. And it's not even literally every 8 shows. If it was every 8 shows, I could probably figure out what it was. It's not. It's not that exact. But it happens often enough where I sit there and I do start to wonder, okay, why? Why is this doing this? And I can't identify any reason. And I'm getting a drink of water. That's why I've stopped for a minute. Do not worry. You have not had a technical glitch. I'm just getting a sip of water. But that's, I was noticing for a while that my volume was very far up. It was too loud. And the thing, and this is about as much audio expertise as I can offer, and the word expertise is being used exceptionally loosely in this case. I am certainly, if you want a true audio engineer, you're going to want to talk to my friend Matt Snedecor. He actually works as an audio engineer, and I'm sure could explain this. And at some point, I am actually going to bug him to get this thing isolated and dialed in. And I know there are tricks that he would be able to tell me how to do that would enhance my voice. Because one of the things I would like my voice to do, and I don't know, I don't think it's a limitation of the microphone. I think it's either some kind of production enhancement or something I'm just missing. I never feel like there's much bass to my voice. Now, maybe there isn't. Maybe my voice is just naturally higher. But I don't think so. I mean, when I just said that, my voice went way up. But I don't know. I just feel like my voice is a little lower than it tends to come across on the microphone. And honestly, it's not a big deal. If it's just the way it is, it's just the way it is. The clarity is the more important point, let's be honest. The fact that you can understand me and that it doesn't sound like I'm talking to a filter like this, that was worse. My early mic, my first mic that I did a bunch of shows with, oh boy, $20 mic, and boy, could you tell. Boy, it was the famous Logitech mic that looks like a curved wand. I don't think they still sell it, but most people would know it if you were around in the early days of Logitech peripherals. You probably know the mic I'm talking about. In fact, if you want to see it, the television show Parks and Rec, there is an episode where the main characters are recording political ad spots. They're doing political ad voiceovers, and they are using that mic to record it. The characters, it's Ben, Jerry, and Tom, I think. They're recording an ad about Bobby Newport. And the gag is that they keep saying his name, Bobby Newport. Bobby Newport. That gag, the mic that they're using, was the first mic that I used to do the show. It's a Logitech. I don't know what the model is, but again, a well-known, it's appeared in a lot of different TV shows in different places. It's one of these things that was just it was everywhere for a while. And it's just an entry-level mic, very simple mic, and the sound quality is not so good, to say the least. But that was the first mic that I used. That was my first mic, and so the sound quality in those early shows, and of course it was just me for the first 4 or 5 shows, which would never have lasted if Lando hadn't come along. Oh boy, I don't even know what it would have been like, but I can tell you it probably wouldn't have been that good. And where was I going with that? Oh, so the sound quality thing. So that was, so that's the only stuff with the mic where I'm sure that there's something, either there's some kind of software I can use or some kind of adjustments that would make my sound a little bit better. It's not bad. Like I said, the important part is I feel like the clarity is very good on it with the mic that I'm using, which is not a cheap mic. And so that's the most important part, is that you don't have to struggle to understand me, and I don't think there's a lot of really bad audio things happening. Like I've got a pop filter, so I don't think there's and that weird sound that I hear, again, I see it right away. So it only tends to happen, I think the most it's happened on any recording I've seen it on is maybe 3 times. And most of the time it's just once. So it's almost as if like there's either maybe something in the background on the recording software, or the interface is just kind of surging a bit, or there's a little bit of a short or something. There could be. It's hard for me to say. Or a process is running or something that just causes this weird audio pop. Not even a pop, a spike. You can see it. Again, it's if you were looking at the waveform, here's what you would see, right? Because this is, let's say, a waveform, and here's the voice, and it's going. You'd see this, and that's hitting the top of, because these lines, the lines on the top and bottom represent the program, the kind of timeline, and then you'll see the audio just keeps going. But there's this spike right here. That's what does it. That spike shows up, and I mean, it's a terrible sound. It's I don't even know how to describe it, because it's this very short, shrill pop sound. And again, it doesn't happen often. And when it does, it's very visible. It's not something I would ever miss, because there's an amplification that I run that when I do it, you can tell when you run it whether there's a huge spike or not. Because essentially what it'll do is it will say, let's say, because normally my audio, I'm adjusting it, it's usually going up by about 6 decibels or so. But if it suddenly just says 0, that is an immediate clue that that one of these kind of sound shocks happened. I don't know what else to call it. And so I can find it very quickly using that. I go, oh, okay, well, if it's not letting me amplify it, there has to be some place in this sound form, or the waveform, that I got a spike. And it's always that. As soon as I take that out, then I can do the amplification as I would expect. Again, not a huge deal. Not anything. I don't think I've ever let it slip through. So I don't, because nobody's ever really said, oh, there was a really, I mean, not in a long time. It probably happened early on more. Before this mic, I think there were points where we were popping a bit. And I remember getting messages saying, your sound's a little off. Now I think I've gotten better at it. I'm not going to say I'm good at it. I'm just going to say I think I'm better at it. And unfortunately now Lando is recording his end of the conversation, so that also helps, because that gets me a cleaner version of his audio. But it could just be that my voice is not geared towards a deeper register. I don't know. One of the trickiest things, and this goes for both visual and audio, is trying to really pin down what is a true representation of whatever the medium is. Meaning, it's very difficult, I think, to isolate true sound, to the point where there's something interesting that you'll hear about that when it comes to music. And again, I'm explaining this, I'm sure, ineloquently. I'm sure that Snedecor would be a much better person to explain this. But as an example, there are headphones that are called studio headphones. And those, exactly as they sound, are headphones that audio engineers use in studios to get what is, I think, considered the purest version of a sound. But it's often not, they're not usually headphones that are recommended for ordinary people. And that's because sound, I mean, there's so much that can go on with sound. And this also applies to video too. I mean, this is where like color grading and color recognition are so personal and so individual. You know, what is a appropriate green to me is not necessarily the right green for you. Just give me a second here. I've just been sitting in the same position for a while, so I want to move a little bit. That same thing applies to sound. Sound is not universal, no matter what anybody will tell you, because I mean there may be such thing as a universal sound, a clean sound, but that doesn't really work for human beings because no two people have the same ears. No two people in general want the same sound for certain things, and so there is all. This is an opinion. So if there are sound or graphics or video engineers out there that want to contradict this, by all means, feel free to let me know. But at least in my opinion, there probably is no such thing as the perfect sound mix or the perfect video mix, because even the person doing the mixing or the person who approves that mix is going to have preferences that may be contradictory to what the true quote-unquote sound or visual is. So, you know, this is something that happens in music a lot, is there's albums get different mixes. You know, that's why you often see remixes, mono mixes, stereo mixes, quadraphonic mixes, surround, spatial mixes. And you can have people who are, you know, big fans of whoever the group or the orchestra or whatever is. Two different people who hear that, and one will tell you that one mix is far superior to the other, and that preference may not have anything to do with the actual purity, to use a strange word for it, but I'll just use that, of the actual mix. Or I should say, whether that mix represents an accurate reflection of the music as it would be, let's say, if you were standing in the room. And even there, where you're standing in the room changes the way the sound works. If you're standing in the front of an orchestra, that is going to be a very different experience, as far as I understand. And you know, for the ones that I've ever been in, which are not many, but to standing in the middle of the orchestra, to standing to the right, to the left, because your physical proximity to the instruments changes the nature of that sound. So some people might prefer what it sounds like to be sitting in an audience in front. Some people may prefer the idea. Some people like to have the instruments surrounding them where they can actually hear where, for example, if there's a tuba to your right and a trombone to your left and percussion's in front and horns are in back. They want to hear that separation. They want to hear those locations and know where they exist in a three-dimensional space. I don't like that. I just want the music to be blended together very well. That's purely my preference when it comes to hearing music. And so spatial and positional audio it has no attractiveness to me. I have no desire to hear music where I can tell that, oh, the guitar player, you can tell that they're sitting in front of you. I don't care. I just want to be able to hear the guitar in an equal or not equal is the wrong word for it, in a complementary mix to the other instruments, depending on what the intent was. I could care less whether that guitarist was in fact sitting in front of me, behind me, on a rooftop, surfing in the Mediterranean, whatever. I don't care. I don't want to be turning my head and hear the instrument move. No, that's not for me. Some people like that stuff. That's fine. Again, I'm not trying to tell anybody they should feel bad about the way they consume whatever the content they're consuming is. It's just not for me. And that's what I mean about what I would call an ideal mix. Somebody who likes spatial and positional audio, that person's going to have a completely different view. That's the beauty of human beings, is we all have these different perspectives and views on things. And it's great that people like different stuff. I'm all for people having the choice. So, and in most cases with music anyway, that's something where if you don't want to hear spatial audio, you don't have to listen to that. And that's great. So that lets the person who enjoys that stuff, they can listen to it. And somebody like me who just wants things nice and simple and easy, I can listen to it too. So and that's what I mean about there is no right or wrong The artists themselves even the artist preference may not really matter. That's an interesting thing about some art is that the artist's intention sometimes doesn't matter. There are many examples where artists intended an audience to experience one form of a thing, and instead they latched onto it completely differently. It's fascinating. That's one of the things I like most about art is that it doesn't, unlike math, where 2 plus 2 is supposed to equal 4 when you're doing addition of 2 plus 2. Art has no equivalent like that. There is no correct or incorrect. There is simply interpretation. Intent is a factor, but it is not the most important one. It's what the audience's reaction is. It's how at first I liked these lines. I thought those looked good at first. Now I don't like them. So I simply have decided that I like these lines better. Somebody watching this may say, what are you, crazy? They looked a lot better before. I can't tell that person they're wrong. For that person, they did look better before. But I don't think that and since I'm still in control of the piece, I can make that adjustment. But I have no doubt that there's going to be people out there who, if they watch these videos from the beginning and see that other version of the skull, there are people who are going to say, no way, you made a terrible decision there. Those other marks were clearly better. I don't know why I don't want to turn the touch controls off, but every so often it does something like that, which is just really driving. Did it again. It's my fingers. It's like the touch detection is a little off. I just have to adjust how I'm drawing, and I'll be okay. Shouldn't happen again because my fingers aren't touching the screen now, so I think we'll be all right. And that person is not wrong. The person who likes the little hash marks or the little lines that I was doing, the person's not wrong. They thought it looked better. To that person, they were right. That is one of the greatest things about art in general, and that's true of music and writing and everything else. If you look at director's cuts of movies or different cuts of movies, there are often directors and theatrical cuts and extended work prints, and you can sometimes find, I don't know what the highest number of alternate cuts for a film is, but if you look at something like Blade Runner, which is a pretty famous science fiction movie, I have a collection which includes 5 cuts of that movie, and that's 5 official cuts. There's fan edits. There are no doubt alternate cuts that were never actually committed to any type of print, where they were working things out. So there's always, art is never finished. That's one of the kind of the truisms of art. There's no piece of art is ever finished. You don't finish art, you just stop. And the reason that happens, and that is true, is because art doesn't exist in any type of scientific format. You cannot apply any type of measurement to it where you say it's right or wrong. You can have 2 different people draw the same thing. You put an apple in front of 2 different artists, and depending on what their styles are, you might get 2 wildly different interpretations of that apple. Neither one is wrong, and neither one is right. You can like one of them and hate the other, and for you as the viewer or the consumer of the visual, whatever you want to use the term for that, that's correct. Picasso would have done a very different apple than Jim Lee, certainly. So that's what I like about art. It's open to a lot of interpretation. I think I'm going to draw this stream to a close because my hand is cramping up. Doing these little lines is not the simplest thing in the world. But I like the ring idea. I think this is going to end up where it's going to be the rings in the dark areas, and I just had a really stupid idea. Nah, I'm not going to do that. Well, I may play with it. I'm not even going to say what it is. I may play with it on the other stream. On another stream, I mean. But anyway, I like these rings the way they are. I think I'm liking these better than I liked the little line, these lines. I mean, I could actually have both. There's no reason I couldn't have both, but I really don't think I'm going to keep those other lines. I just think, I feel like it's too busy. So I don't think I'm going to stick with those. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and draw this stream to a close here. Oh, as my phone is ringing in the background with what is clearly a spam number. So that is another signal. Not that I'm going to answer it, but there is a number in the background that is clearly a spam number, which, I think we all get those. So you may hear that. I apologize if you do, but that is a spam number going on. But anyway, this is probably a good place to go ahead and bring the stream to a close and say thank you very much for watching, because I know I did see at least one person was viewing. May have been more. Again, I can't figure out how that number works. It doesn't seem like it has any bearing on actual reality to me. But in any event, however many of you were here, I do appreciate you stopping by. And if you're watching later, that's fine too. I get that the times when I do these are not always going to be receptive for everybody to be able to join live. That's why I'm putting them up on the YouTube stream. And honestly, I don't really care however you consume them. I'm not doing these streams for any kind of monetary gain, and I'm not worried about viewer counts or anything like that. I just want people who enjoy this stuff to be able to enjoy it however you want. So again, I like giving people options. So if you're streaming if you're hearing this live, great, thanks for watching. If you're watching this 6 months from now, great, thanks for watching. So whether it is morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you are, whenever you are, have a great rest of whatever it is. Take care.